Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager, and it's episode 50, already a half century in. Still early season 3, though. FIA rule changes. This is one of those guaranteed because either way, it's going to involve a rule change. It's just which version. So for next year's car, we're looking at something along the lines of cooling focus changes or airflow focus changes. And it looks like it's just the balance. You're going to lose 30% airflow or you're going to lose 30% cooling. And then you're going to lose 10% of the other. Now, engine cooling is a weakness for our team. Airflow is not a strength for our team, but it's definitely not as bad. We have made a lot more progress when it comes to airflow than engine cooling. Therefore, the bigger penalty for us would be on airflow, right? Subtracting 30% of an okay number is going to be more harmful than subtracting 30% of a weak number. So we're going to opt for the engine cooling, but overall it looks like it's chassis, front wing, rear wing, side pods, underfloor, and suspension. That's a lot of parts involved for that one. Suspension design is complete. We can get started on the manufacturing, but the next project, if you remember from last episode, is going to be on hold until we get into the next period. It was either we make one big upgrade or we make tiny little upgrades that were going to cost us money in, design and manufacturing and not really produce much gain. Therefore, we're actually holding off for a little period, waiting for the new allocation to set in. And the vote tallies are in. A vote for is what we did. A vote for was for the engine side of things, the engine cooling side of things. And you can see the majority of the teams opted for that, 70%, and therefore, yeah, good for us that it is all on the engine cooling. And ultimately, we're talking about a minor technical change. No major changes for the year, just minor. And that means we're going to be in a pretty good state come next season without some huge changeovers. We are going to have to invest a little bit for this one. I mean, we're probably going to want to ultimately get one upgrade for most of the parts, research-wise, done before the year to cover that off. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. I think one would be sufficient. Kind of the final phase of this season. So I knew the time was going to come that this was going to happen. We just went through this with the Car Part Test Center, and I remembered having gone through this previously with the two. So the suspension simulator and the Car Part Test Center are very similar in their nature. They're very similar in how the pattern, the cost, the what type of upgrade, and the rate of degradation. Well, anyway, recently, a couple 2-3 weeks ago, the Car Part Test Center dropped its condition level, and instead of refurbishing, we went for the upgrade. Now the suspension simulator has done the exact same thing. The upgrade this time a bit more expensive. It is a bit more expensive. It's 10 million. Right now we have 11.3. It's not a lot of spare cash. It's really not a lot of spare cash. But here's the thing. We have at least a week and a half to 2 weeks until we're going to have our next research projects possible. So we're not investing there. We have no new manufacturing to do for the next couple of weeks. So I think we might have one upgrade that's going to come done fairly soon. So we have one project, I suppose, that we're going to have to invest into. But that's it. That is all. We do not need to be spending any other funds anytime soon. However, it is time to start thinking about those contracts for next year. As in Porsche, right? If this is it, this is his final season, and we're going to bring Jack Doohan into the seat next year, great. So be it. That's going to happen at the end of the season. Therefore, the Porsche move is the only one we need to handle during the year. Now, probably want to get those negotiations going sooner rather than later. I would imagine he's still going to be quite affordable, as he's still a 76 overall, and not quite there yet. I have a feeling he's going to hit 77 quite soon, as he's been on that 76 for quite some time, and he continues to upgrade rapidly. He still has some really high potential, but he still hasn't even matched Albin, and that surprises me. The rate of development of young drivers a little slow. I figure the kind of development he has had would be the equivalent of one season. He's been with us for more than a year and a half now. Going on 2 seasons. It was pretty early in that first year, and we're still early in year 3, and definitely earlier than when that move happened. But it was, I don't know, 7 races in, or 3 in now. So it's 4. Are we going on 4th race of the year? Anyway, that means it's almost been 2 seasons, and he's about where I thought he would be after about a year. Now, you would expect it slows down a lot, right? Lewis Hamilton, he's the GOAT, and he's not going to develop much, if any, at this stage. Though, let's be honest here, his best years have been recent seasons. Even though he's got 7 official championships, championships 6 and 7 were probably the best driving he's done, certainly the most mature, and that's the thing. There's always areas that you can improve, and I'll throw this one out there while we're on the topic, and these two shouldn't even be in the same conversation. However, they've been the top 2 competitors in recent seasons, so okay, there's direct comparisons in the here and now. Max Verstappen, still very young. It's not like he was a rookie yesterday, okay? Yes, he is still very young, but he's been racing in F1 for a lot of years now. But anyway, he is getting better. He is maturing as he goes on. Everybody's getting better as a driver, except some of those guys in that mid-late 30s. They start to lose some of that hand-eye coordination, or they get more desperate to continue doing what they were capable of doing a few years prior. They start to become more prone to mistakes. So it's not just about reaction times getting worse. I'd love to see if this game had something along those lines, a degradation of attributes in your twilight years. But anyway, let's get this upgrade going and let's get into the race, huh? We are expecting some rain for the race weekend here at I was about to say Monza. We're not going to Monza. 2 Italian races. It's fine. It's fine that they have 2. I'm not the biggest fan of this track, though. I think it's more on the track and not necessarily the fact that Italy has 2. I think it's just fine that Italy has 2. I think there's a lot better circuits than this one. I've not been a fan of the races there so far since this COVID era unlocking of the Enzo Dino Ferrari track. Yadadramo. Anyway, plenty of straight line speed necessary, but really only on one kind of lengthy bending straight. Couple medium sections, some slow sections, not as much in the fast sections, which of course we are better on slower and medium speed now than we are on fast. This should be a fairly good track for us as a result. Last year, just missing out on the points. Last 2 cars on the lead lap, just barely keeping it in there. And, our guys finished less than a second apart in 11th and 12th.
The hills of Tuscany are green to the south, but here in Imola, the air is red hot. Welcome to Ferrari's turf for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. The track has been around since the 60s, but the first official Formula One race was held here in 1980. Let's see what excitement lies ahead this year. This is Imola, and it's an old school track with plenty of elevation changes and lots of corners. There's only one DRS zone here, but it follows the long straight right before Tamburello, and should see plenty of action. We might still be early in the season, but that doesn't mean we can sit back and relax. Everything is up for grabs, and nothing is certain at this stage. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Formula One.
Pretty good sessions for us, Porsche. 100%. We've only hit that maybe 3 times total, so That's a great outcome. Track acclimatization right in the very, very end, last few seconds. Also getting to a 100% evaluation. Car parts knowledge, we have that new suspension on both cars. It's up to 97%. The other new part that we had last time out is fully acclimatized, so we're fairly good there. That's a 15 out of 15 for Porsche and the bonuses. Albon, not there yet. Track acclimatization, almost hit that 2/3 stage. So he got a little less running time than Porsche as we were just chasing that setup all the way until the final minutes of the third session. In fact, we had that 100% about 2 minutes into session 3. We were at 4 out of 5, and he got that 5th out of 5th with all of them locked in. About 2 laps. 2 laps in was about it. But for Albon, I don't know. We had 95 and then went the wrong way. It was down to 90, so I went back the other way and then some to see what that would give us, thinking that it should just about do it, that I had enough information to make that gutsy call instead of just accepting the 95%. So we'll see if we've made the right call on that one or not as we get into qualifying. Speaking of, even though we are at 61%, and we're in good shape on all of the parts, this year I am more inclined to spend the $6 million, right? We did spend the $3 million on Porsche very late in the season. We saw the benefit of having better, fresher parts near the end of the year. So I'm more inclined to make a move a race or two sooner this year and know that we're going to go ahead and spend at some point. We're going to take that penalty. We're going to spend that $3 million on each car and have that one extra set of everything, and then still play everything the same way we did a year ago, stretching those parts out as much as possible. But this will keep us a little bit fresher, a little bit stronger, a little more competitive this year, knowing that we're going to spend that money up front. So for now, that means all but the ERS. The ERS at 77% is still in really, really good shape. So we'll wait a little bit longer to change that one out. But the engine and the gearbox, moving on to number 2. And we have Q1 and our solo run. We are expected to have rain today. We had nothing in FP3.
Like
We've had nothing in Q1. So when will that rain come? The weather was turning as this session went on. Porsche and Albon both in the top 10 in their single laps. Porsche within 0.3 of a second of the race lead. One thing I did notice about lap times here, very close. Very close here in Imola. I mean, we were talking about a 1 second gap from top to bottom. In fact, there you go, 114.1, 115.1. All the way to the Aston Martins, just exactly a second down. So close field, very close field. That means you would expect some tight running within the pack. DRS should be quite possible. If possible, we're going to try to run a one-stopper, as you would think that the group would stay close and not stretch out much, which means, going faster isn't going to help much. And as we go to start Q2, we have a light rain call, but no dampness on track. Now, if intermediates are the right way to go, you would imagine it's going to pick up pretty fast, but you would also imagine getting out there first is going to be important, and that it's probably just going to get worse. We're going to enter and pause very, very quickly here. Okay, track rubber is going to run out in about 7 minutes, so halfway through the session. Track grip is also going to just get worse. It is supposed to stop raining towards the end of the session. Track will dry out a bit, but not a lot. It looks like it is at its driest point right now, but it never looks like it's going to be that bad. Are we even going to get over 1.0? I would imagine it probably will, at least through this stretch, but will it here? I would imagine nobody's going to go out on the softs right now. I think everybody's going to be out there on the intermediates. So we'll get out there first and see where that places us. Either that or we switch to the softs and have a go. That's going to take 5 minutes. 5 minutes for the track to get noticeably worse. Point 0.3.
So
0.4.
just
1.0. 1.0 is the cutoff. Nope, there it goes. 0.95. Okay. Not happening. Call car in. Yeah. Alright, we are being joined by some traffic here as we get our lap underway, but at 1.2, it's definitely intermediate conditions.
We've just had a car run wide. Sounds
And
like
Bottas has crashed, so the McLaren, which was in practice competitive, or Q1 was competitive with us. That's who we were neck and neck with, was McLaren. Bottas has crashed out here in Q2, so he will not see Q3. It looks like he'll be starting from P15, or worse if he damaged his gearbox.
Sun's coming out now.
Okay, copy.
Alright, rain has stopped, but at 2.5 millimeters. Will it dry out enough here in the last 4 minutes to improve lap times? There was that little bit of track rubber when we ran before. It's down to 2.17. You know what? Let's not take our chances here. We're gonna use that same set though. Use that same set. And let's go run one more lap as a just in case. I have a feeling we are safe. It's under 2 millimeters now. We ran our lap at about 1.3, and you can see it's drying out now to 1.8, 1.75. Those at the tail end are going to get a better lap, but while the back end, I think, is going to improve their time from about Verstappen on up, I think a lot of others aren't, because it's still just now at 1.5. I don't think we will improve our times at all. Porsche does not. Albon does not. But we do see Q3. Perez does, but he goes just barely ahead of us. Now, is that where the car should have been? Maybe. Probably not. Probably a little higher up. By the way, the call to make one more setup change for Albon has worked out perfectly, and for the very first time, both cars have a 100% setup confidence. Looking for that banker lap here in Q1. Verstappen in a dangerous place. I think Porsche gets a clean overtake. Sainz does not. Albon right into the hairpin. That's probably going to impact his time. And Porsche might have overtaken Norris just before. Well, it's not really the chicane there. And I'm a little worried about our times. I am a little bit worried about our times. But so far it's at least ahead of Guan Yu Zhou. This is the used set. We are expecting a dry Q3, so we will have the fresh set. And I am saving that extra. I'll have 2 fresh sets for the race, just in case we don't know what to expect for the race itself. And 2 sets of fresh softs could come in handy. If we see a red flag, or if we see varying conditions where you're coming in and out of it. So having those spare sets will be handy. Right now it's P6, P7. That's actually a good spot to be in. Hamilton's the only one ahead of us that we would be like, oh darn, we'd like to get ahead of them. Got to watch out for Russell. Russell 1 millisecond behind Albon, and yeah, he's definitely a threat to go ahead of us. Norris also had a good time in Q1, so we'll have to watch out for him as well. I think Guan Yu Zhou, that's his representative time. We should be ahead of him. So can we hang on to P6, P7 is the most likely. And Porsche getting his lap underway into the sun. That glare is pretty nasty, but he's going to get through it okay. I think you're into the shadows here. Not easy conditions, really, for a driver. Looks like a strong lap from Porsche. He's holding a good line. Not sure if that chicane was the best line that he could have run, but otherwise we've seen him running pretty smooth throughout here. Down to P7, P8. Norris does put in a better time, so we gotta watch out for that one. Norris up to P6. And in between, Hamilton cannot improve, so he sits P5. You got your front four, and then two guys that we're going to try to get. Russell improves. He's better than Albin now. And Guan Yu Zhou looks like he stays the same, so that was the one that I figured. Can we move back up here with our times? Porsche will be the first to cross. And he is P7. P7. He does improve his time. Albin crosses the line and gets back ahead of Russell at least. So P7, P8. Like I said, Russell and Norris were the two to watch out for, and we beat one. Could not beat both. But not a bad starting spot. P7, P8 for the upcoming race. Considering Russell was fastest in Q2 under the wet conditions, we'll have to watch out for him during the race if they are that noticeably quick. Of course, Mercedes did get out first in Q2, as we did. We set off technically first, but we set off on the soft compound. Mercedes was the first ones out right after us on the intermediate, so Russell got his lap in before the track got too bad. So that is part of the reason for that time.
It's race day, with the teams and drivers ready and raring to go.
Qualifying went well for Williams, as attested by their strong position on the grid. Now it's all about finding that edge for the race itself. The work Red Bull did during qualifying was nothing short of spectacular. Now let's see if they can repeat that for today's race. And the sun is shining bright here today. This is perfect weather for teams and drivers alike to show us what they're capable of.
And seeing it all come together is sure to be a thrill. An exciting race ahead for us here at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix.
Rain coming around lap 18. Tire change somewhere around lap 19. Soft compound can work for that stint, so we're going to come out a little more aggressive with that, but we can't push those tires too much, but we'll at least have that extra pace a bit on the softs. And then I think we're looking at intermediate and not wet for the compound to go from there. It doesn't look like it's going to be too terribly wet out there, and it looks to be fairly steady with that, roller coaster staying relatively even in terms of track water. That's the big call, is whether it's wet conditions or intermediate conditions. From there, the intermediates would not last the distance. I think the wets might, but I do not think the intermediates would go the distance. You'd be down to about 20% on the end without any pushing whatsoever. That's, I think, a bit of a risky move in variable conditions. It's easier to see the track spread, see the field spread out more, and therefore going aggressive and making that additional stop, I think, will be in our best interest. But we'll see how things shake up. Early, say, 3, 4, 5 laps into our intermediate stint, if we see a virtual safety car during that stretch or full safety car during that stretch, maybe we switch to the one-stop strategy by getting those few extra laps out and then aiming for the track position. But ultimately, this is a more aggressive strategy that would benefit from not turning up the engine, but turning down the engine, from going lighter. And so we will underfuel by a lap for the... Almost forgot.
It's sunny and bright as the drivers line up on the grid. Here's Williams. They might not be in the top 3 spots, but things could change fast once the race gets underway. And then we've got Alex Albon. With a top 10 position on the grid, this race could really go either way for them. The teams are ready to go. All eyes are on the race here at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
One of the reasons why we selected Porsche in the first place was outside of reactions. He had fairly good racecraft, he was, fairly competitive when it came to a number of factors,
That's a
and
great
he
job,
wasn't
great job.
far off from Albin, and then had that high potential, which he's clearly shown. Pourchaire up to P6. Now Pourchaire making a move on Hamilton and into P5. Is this the soft
what you're
compound?
doing.
Into P4. It is. It is the soft compound.
job,
There's
good
only
job.
the two of us plus Magnussen and Ricardo that have opted to go with the softs, and it is really paying off here on lap number 1. Even Albin has gotten around Norris now, as that pressure remains high on the other teams. We cannot stay like this for long, though, if we are going to make it.
Nice work.
Pourchaire trying to get into P3 here. Albin up to P6. Both of them making that full progress right now, and I think maybe it's time to settle in. We're going to turn it back up here for Pourchaire. Track position is a great thing that we can really pick up here in these early laps. If we can, the higher up the order we get, even though I don't expect the field to stretch out much, the higher up the field we can get, the better it's going to be later on. Albin, I might want to intentionally back off a little bit because, in those variable conditions,
Fastest lap.
you're going to want, Pourchaire gets fastest lap, you're going to want to have a little space between your drivers because you're going to want to double stack. The double stack is going to cost you less than an extra lap in bad conditions. You're going to lose more than 2.5 seconds, more than 3 seconds under those circumstances. Therefore, the double stack still makes sense. Hamilton just about a second behind. Pourchaire goes into P2. Around Verstappen, and we are behind only Leclerc.
And a new position, just gained by Williams.
We just about have that 2.5 seconds gap.
And
I
there's
hate
an
what
overtake
could
from
happen,
Williams.
though, with pit road and where our pit stall is. Vettel already 6 seconds behind Alonso, opening a big gap for the bottom 8 cars. Top 12 looking good. Norris a little over a second behind. Can that gap open? That would be. Will the Mercedes lose the train? It looks like they do. Hamilton gets passed by Russell right away. Albin overtaking Perez to get up into P4. Again, without even trying here. And Norris does just about keep, but a second train has now formed with the Mercedes, Magnussen, Ricardo, and Alonso. The field is definitely starting to stretch out a bit, more than I expected it to.
Looks like there's been a lockup.
No? Tsunoda with the lockup, turn 12. Bottas is in last place, by the way. That's Tsunoda and the Haas with that mistake. Okay, how's the gaps opening? We're already looking at 25 seconds to the back end of the field, 14 seconds to this group, and about 4 to 5 seconds to this other group here. But starting on softs and starting lighter definitely got us up the grid. I mean, we've had a fantastic start here, setting in P2, P4. Turn that back up as we are a little bit off the back there. Over the apex of
And
it.
a new position, just gained
Pourchaire
by
overtaking
Williams.
Leclerc, takes the lead.
Further
Okay,
in
wet
expected.
weather predicted.
Yes, okay.
Gap to Hamilton, 3 seconds, slowly pulling away. Gap to Schumacher down in 13th is 10 seconds off of that train ahead. So that group It's gone out a little bit more, but not by much. They've only lost 2 additional seconds. This group. Tires at 55%. They will fall below that 50% threshold. We will start to lose a little bit of pace here before too long. But they will just about hold off, and we can try more aggressive at that point, knowing that we don't need them much longer. And there's the rain. There's the rain on lap 17. It comes a little bit earlier. We are early in the lap. We'll see where we are at in conditions soon. Is anybody going to pit in yet? No. And look how stretched out the field's starting to get, by the way. Gap to leader. We're looking... Oh, gosh. Porsche runs wide. Down to P5. At least he rejoins the track quickly, but he's already made a mistake and dropping down the order. That puts Albin ahead.
Head done.
Full wets for Bottas, and it's already to 2.11. So, do we split strategy now and focus on trying to get one car in position to win the race, or do we bring both cars into the full wets? Porsche's made a mistake. However, it's not like cost you the race kind of mistake as of yet, but switching to the wrong compound would. We'll just find out. We're going to aim for the one stopper. So we are now saving a pit stop by putting on the wets. Now we have to hope that the track stays wet enough to justify what we're going to get out of it. Here we go.
Box, missed that. Box.
Leclerc and Perez continue on. They're going to be really slow this lap. So that is Verstappen into the pits. That is Sainz into the pits. That is Norris into the pits. And that is most of the front end of the field for now. There's Albin, 2.7, and he sits. And he still sits. And he's still sitting. Finally, he gets back out on track. And Porsche loses 10-15 seconds. I mean, it's like a 15-second time penalty for Porsche. Porsche's going to come out in no man's land. I mean, miles off pace. Miles off the pace. That is the worrying part about that pit stall. Porsche, Albin, just P7. However, that is second. Hamilton, the only one on the intermediates right now, and we are nearly at wet conditions already. So at least there's that. It seems like the wets were the way to go. Hamilton, the only one on the intermediates. But we have 6 cars that stayed out this time. 6 cars, and those guys are going to be really slow. Share way down in P13. That's terrible.
Yes.
That is terrible. He's all the way behind Ricardo. Ricardo was
Nice
how many seconds behind us? Albin gets around one. Can he get around the other?
And there's an overtake from Williams.
Okay, Porsche.
Can't afford to drop.
Porsche has caught up to these guys. Porsche needs to
copy.
now attack and push and
Quick
overtake.
crease lift and coast.
Yes.
That's Guan Yu Zhou ahead. Leclerc, Perez, Russell, and obviously these guys are going to pit. So Albin will be in P2. Verstappen was well up the road though, so Porsche still caught up as he's caught behind 2 guys that are slow. And Alonso actually ends up overtaking him. Russell also comes out, so Mercedes making the call even after all this time to go for the intermediates. Okay, Albin, all alone in P2. Other than the 2 Mercedes, everybody else is on the full wets. We are 9 seconds behind Verstappen. That is how much ground that was lost. That is a ton of time. Albin was just behind Verstappen. 0.2 of a second behind. He's now 9 seconds behind. This is Porsche. Porsche locks up and still has not rejoined the track, so he already makes
Let's see what happened there.
a second
Now
mistake.
we see the Williams
Huge
here.
lockup. The
Look
double
at
stack
that. They've run
itself only hurt by, a second. But getting caught up in all of that traffic on pit road, Albin squeaks his way into getting out at the right time, barely. And again, I told you I was worried. It's because of our pit box. They need an update. This is not an F1 Manager 2023. This is now. They need to update this game that at the end of the season, your constructor's box goes relative to your position in the constructor's standings. It makes a massive difference. That, it's not a bug. It's coded the way it is. But it is a flaw. It is a deep flaw in this game that we are still in the worst or second worst pit box. I think it's the worst pit. We have the worst pit box. And it, above all else, cost Pourchaire 7 positions. Now he's cost himself 4 additional positions with his mistake, and he's behind Russell, by the way. And is Russell still on the intermediates? He is. Okay, we need to attack and go past Russell here. Albin falling behind Verstappen. There's no DRS anymore. That's one of our strong suits. Track could go intermediates before long, and Russell could be back up on us. But, we've already left him a good 2.5 seconds behind. So it's very much wet weather conditions, even though it's almost in between. We are closing up towards Hamilton as well. Could have the same thing happen. However, we're down into intermediate territory now, so we could see him start to come back. Lap 22 already. Have Mercedes made the correct call? Is 5 laps of running on wets? That's going to be quite a while. And, okay, if this is the threshold right here, Albin has already gone by into the pits, and a number of guys are pitting, which means Albin's going to lose some time. Pourchaire, we have to do what the others are doing. Full cars have crashed. Yellow flags are out. Albin comes back out in P5. Going light.
Who's that
going
that
light.
just crashed? Let's take a closer look. Now look at this. Daniel Ricciardo involved here.
Ricciardo back in the Alpine. Looks like he's going to get into the back of the AlphaTauri, I'm guessing. He
And
does.
there's the hit. And it's crystal.
And it looks like they'll both be able to continue on. And they peel off into the pits. Good. They get out of our way. Time losses. I think ultimately Pourchaire probably would have ended up in about the same place. Guessing. I'm guessing he would have been in roughly the same place. Reason being, as Schumacher pits, that'll put Pourchaire back up into P13. The race is certainly not done, especially if we could stretch and make the one-stopper work. And others either don't stretch because they drive normal and really fall off in the final laps, or if they do make the second pit stop, and that's a lot of guys that are going to go backwards. And in terms of how stretched out the field is, well, Hamilton's in a good place and Verstappen's in a good place, but from where Albin is, this field is very stretched compared to what it should have been. And Pourchaire could and should make his way forward. He does have some guys near ahead of him, and Aston Martin of Gasly's car he can absolutely overtake when we get up there. So not sure why our ERS is on the lower side, as it was quite full, but sure. They got it right, and that was the call that I was wanting to make. I let Bottas convince me otherwise, and from the look of everybody else, at least we're not in a bad place. And again, though, I'm now aiming for the one-stopper. Not really the one-stopper, it's already a two-stopper, right? But I'm aiming to make the two-stopper work and not have a three-stopper. Meanwhile, Hamilton and Russell,
Low fuel, so be mindful of that.
they've only had the one stop.
Yep, copy.
And they look assured that they're going to have to make a second stop. Lap, it's not going to hold. Rain picks up. 3.4. Nobody is on the wets. Is this that period that I was looking at? It is. Okay. It's not going to last long. It is not going to last long. This one you want to endure. Let's hope it doesn't get too bad. And let's hope some of the guys opt to switch to the wets. Here we go. A little bit more. 398, 399, 4. Will anybody pit? They are pitting. Folks, I do not believe this is the right call. For one thing, it's already down to 396, 395. More heavy rain is predicted, but again, this is only going to last for a few laps. Magnussen also pits. Now, of course, this will, as they switch back to the intermediates, get them good to go till the end of the race. As we fly past somebody, Porsche just went past Sainz. the wets are not working. The wets are already not working. 381. Some more heavy rain though. It's probably going to get back up there. So now P2 and P10. Porsche back to the points. If he can go mistake-free the rest of the way. Alright, Albon. Hamilton back into the pits. There you go. There you go, Hamilton. Hamilton returns with Porsche ahead of him. Hamilton rejoins to the back end of this group. Porsche up to P9. Safety. No safety car. No safety car.
Okay, it's a safety car. Positive on the Delta.
Here's what I'm thinking. Porsche, absolutely no way he's coming in. He's got a big string of cars just behind him. For him, it's absolutely not worth it. For Porsche, we're giving up 2 positions if we pit. And then we have fresh hires that we can push on and make overtakes with and be good to go till the end of the race. Where Porsche is going to have to continue to drive conservatively.
Box this lap.
And there is McLaren stopped on the road. Bottas out of the race. Looks to not have any damage. Is that a mechanical? Porsche has actually a decent gap behind. You know what? Screw it. We've seen being bold pay off. We have seen being bold pay off. We're going to try. We're going to try. Albon into the pits. Last stop, guys. Last stop. Definitely sticking with the intermediates. Porsche's got a nice gap thanks to Leclerc. He has a gap thanks to Leclerc. Albon comes out in P4. Leclerc also pitting, so we'll at least be ahead of him.
Yeah. Increase, lift and coast.
2.8.
Okay.
And the race resumes with us in P4 and P11. In Porsche's case, we gave up 3 positions. In Albon's case, we gave up 2. And look at that. Oh no, that's lap cars. That is lap cars. That's blue flag cars getting out of the way. Leclerc overtaking Porsche, so he's actually dropping the position here, even though we're going aggressive. Leclerc is all the way up to P10 already. So Porsche now having to battle from even further back. Meanwhile, Albon making an overtake on Russell. Can he complete the deal? And he does. He's up to P3. Also putting pressure on Perez. Can he get up beside Perez and make it 2? Now it looks like he's going to tuck back in. No, he's going to get up beside him yet again. Let's go, Albon. Let's go. Back into P2. Back into P2. Excellent. Standard. Neutral. Balanced. There you go. Albon's right back where he was. Albon, meanwhile, has Porsche has overtaken Sonoda. So he's got back to at least where he restarted at. Share. Up beside
DRS is
Ocon.
currently disabled. DRS is
Really?
currently
Battery's
disabled.
empty.
It's a good job.
Come on, finish the overtake, please. Full attack. Come on, you're in a faster car. The engine turned up. And you're driving on attack. Still, he doesn't tuck in. Finally. There you go, standard. Balanced. Harvest. Especially as we are behind Leclerc right now. Alright, back into the points for Porsche. 2 more to go to get back to where he was. Albon all over the back of Verstappen though. All over the back of him. Go ahead and harvest so you have some overtake in the final laps. Leclerc gets around Gasly. Okay, back to neutral. I don't know how more than a whole lap of this has not gained anything for us. Yellow flag, multiple cars have crashed. This would not be a good time for a safety car.
It's a collision! Here's the replay.
It's happened
Now
ahead of
watch
us
this.
though.
Lewis Hamilton involved in this one.
And he's wiped out
there's
by
the
Alonso.
collision.
Alonso takes out Hamilton. And both guys are going to go backwards. That's Porsche who's going to go forwards. But somehow, Hamilton comes off the worst. But Alonso's carrying a penalty. But we're going to have to still overtake him here with Porsche. So Porsche is behind the... We would have been right behind that one if we had not pit. Attack. There you go. He's into the pits. He's into the pits. So back to standard. We do have signs behind us, though, all of a sudden. Not good on that part. As we are back into P8. We'll go aggressive and then balanced to save the fuel. Aggressive to try to hold off signs here. Alonso and Hamilton both pitting, but again, Hamilton gets the worst of it, even though Alonso clearly committed the penalty on that one. And Perez has overtaken Albon, so Albon drops to P3 as gap behind, so Albon's in a great position for a podium. Alonso and Hamilton are now left, at the tail end, along with the 2 lapped guys, as Hamilton pits again. Is he out of the race? Track condition back to wet. Okay. Track condition is wet. We knew this was coming. It's not going to last long. We are just in the early 4s. It's going to come back to intermediates. You do not want to pit. You do not want to pit. I don't think you're going to gain enough from pitting. Let's hope some other guys opt to, because I do think this is ultimately going to go our way. Hamilton, bad timing though, because he just pit the lap earlier. Should have, at that point, anticipated and put on the wets if you're going to make that call. If you're in anyway. Albon all over the back of Perez, but unable to put pressure. Vettel, Gasly, Sainz, all pitting. It might be wet condition now, but it's not going to last. It's only going to be for a handful of laps. Overtake? Yes, you are. Come on. I think he's getting up beside him. Not quite. Again. Tire wear is at 62%. I'd like to wait for the end, but I wanted to wait for the end on Verstappen. Oh! Wow, dangerous move there from Perez as he cuts us off. And now we do get up beside him. Let's go, buddy. Let's go. There you go. There you go. And we're ahead. Standard. Balanced.
Nice work.
Back to neutral. That uses up that battery that we just saved up, though. And now we have a gap to Verstappen that we're going to have to overcome. 12th on back or on the wets. Just 5 guys opting for it. Already down to 4.03. Russell pits. Leclerc pits! With Ocon hot on our heels. But also at 61%, so...
Leaf core increase, please.
So that is Albin in P2. That is Pourchaire in P4. 4.03. Vettel in P9 on the wets now. That's a pretty sizable gap behind us, and the track has already dried out to 3.92. Back to intermediate conditions. $55 and counting on those intermediates for the two Red Bulls. Ocon also down at 58. In fact, all of those guys around us, we have the best tire life of anyone on the intermediates, other than those at the very back end. Norris with a spin, and those guys are all slowly switching back, so it was the right call. Not okay. Let's see, what are these gaps looking like? Well, last lap, we are faster than Verstappen, as we're on the fresher. Faster than Perez. Ocon, oh, we're a full second faster than Ocon. Interval out to 1.4, but 14.5 seconds for Pourchaire to try to cover to get back up here. Podium's not looking good for him, but Albin, 2.5 seconds down behind Verstappen. Pourchaire inside 14. Ocon now 3 seconds back. Albin gets within 2, but running out of lap time. Running out of laps and time, really. But they're about to fall below 50%. They're going to lose even more pace once that happens. Okay, let's start that push. 5 laps. Got about a 10th per lap now. Pourchaire's no man's land. He's too far back. Stay aggressive. Harvest for a little bit. Or are you going to just drive right up on him and try to pass him? Save up a little ERS here. Rain has stopped.
No rain expected.
Sun's going to come out for the end of this race, it looks like. Pourchaire still more than 12 seconds behind Perez. Too far to make a move. Very quickly 6 seconds out on Ocon, though. Oh, Verstappen goes by very, very quickly on Hamilton, and we get held up. We're 1.7 back. Back to neutral. Okay, let's go. Close him down. Okay, so that hurt. That hurt our chances. We lost more than a second there trying to get around Hamilton. But that blue flag might have cost us this race. Overtake is on.
Happy to use the overtake.
Half a second behind.
Okay.
It's right on board with Albin. Another blue flag up ahead. And again, we back off as we go through, and we're back out to 3/4 of a second. So we lose a half a second for the second time. Okay, overtake on.
You have the overtake.
Wow, that was really slow coming out of there. Just to give a little push. Deploy. Side by side. Balanced. Overtake, we're down to 18%.
So lift and coast level 3. Yep, copy.
Final straight. We're behind. We are behind. We are behind.
Keep pushing.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. No! Oh, so freaking close. Second place.
That's the flag.
I thought we had just edged ahead of him. I did. I thought we had just edged ahead of him.
Go in that. Okay.
The blue flags. Not once, but twice there. The Hamilton one especially. I mean, we lost a full second going around Hamilton there, and that was a lot to recover. That hurt. Pourchaire easily P4 though. Albin so close to getting the win. But I'll take it. Hey, it's a podium. It's P2. It was exciting. Track nearly dried out. Track nearly dried out for the softs at the very end, but would not have been worth it for the pit stop. Holding off on the pit stops absolutely was the right call. We did make one blunder with that first call of going to the wets, but 9 out of 10 teams made that blunder, so it really didn't cost us much. Pourchaire's 2 individual mistakes cost him
It will be dry.
a lot.
Yep, okay.
Cost him a lot, as he was the one who could have probably
DRS
won the
enabled.
race, considering where Albin finished, and Pourchaire was ahead of Albin by a good 2.5 seconds. So I have a feeling that that could have been a Pourchaire win with an Albin P3 had he not made those mistakes.
What
But,
a pleasure it was to
Like I
watch
said, 9
Alex
out of 10
Albon on the
teams
track.
made the same
And an
mistake at the
amazing
beginning,
result to match.
and it put us in the position that would have set us up for no additional stops the rest of the way. The extra tire life at the end, because of the safety car pit
This
stop
podium is
that we
a true
made,
recognition
was worth
of
it because we
everyone
made
who's
up
been
those
working
positions
so hard for this
and more.
result.
Alright folks, that's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.